Every century faces its challenges, but the 21st century is facing far more challenges than any other. One of the reasons is the changing of our lifestyle, the technological, scientific, and economic advances. AIDS, Ebola, cancer, to name but a few diseases, are troubling population. Today we are going to focus on something you may or may not have heard about, the Zika fever, also known as Zika virus, an illness caused by the bite of a mosquito. I have with me Nadia Inglis. She is consultant in public health at Coventry City Council. Welcome on the show.
Hi, thank you.
Okay. She will talk us through a few questions we've been asking ourselves about Zika virus. So Nadia, first question, is Zika virus a new virus?
No, Zika virus isn't a new virus. It was first identified in 1947 in Uganda in monkeys actually, and since that time and before 2015, actually there were only a small number of outbreaks and relatively small outbreaks in humans. So now we know that in Central America, in South America, in the Caribbean, we're starting to see the virus circulating more widely. And it was noticed in Brazil, first of all, that there were a number of babies that were being born with microcephaly, smaller heads, and we now think there's a link between Zika virus infection and this. For most people who are infected with Zika virus, they don't experience any symptoms, so 80% of people won't have any symptoms. For the remaining 20%, they may have a viral illness of some sort, but it only really becomes something more serious for pregnant women. And so when it comes to the UK, actually the risk to the overall population is quite low.
Okay. How do you think we are prepared here in the UK in case of Zika virus outbreak?
So we are generally very prepared for any sort of outbreak in the UK, but when it comes to Zika virus, we're not expecting an outbreak as such in the UK because of how it's transmitted. So as you said, the Zika virus is transmitted through the bite of a mosquito, and it's a mosquito that tends to bite during the day rather than at night. Essentially, it's quite a difficult virus to pass from person to person. There has been evidence of it being transmitted sexually, and we'll come on to the public health advice about that. But because we don't have this virus in the UK, the risk to our population is very low. There is a small risk to travellers, but there's some advice that we would have for travellers.
Okay. So are there any specific case already recorded here in UK?
I think to date there have been 8 recorded cases of Zika virus in people returning from the Americas mainly after being on holiday. So there have been 8 cases to date.
Okay, and how are you monitoring those cases to avoid any contamination?
Yeah, Public Health England lead the monitoring of all sorts of communicable diseases, and they're leading the monitoring of the cases coming in to the country from having travelled to areas where it is circulating. The important thing is that the public are aware of the public health advice about travel, and if you would like any travel advice about travelling to any area in the world, actually, the best website to go to is the National Travel Health Network and Centre website, and it will tell you all the precautions you need to take, whether it be the vaccinations that you need. In this case, how to avoid mosquito bites is the key piece of public health advice. So making sure that you cover up during the day, and make sure you use insect repellent and use mosquito nets at night. And the travel advice for pregnant women is not to travel to areas where Zika virus is circulating at the moment.
Okay. Is there any additional advice you would like to give to the general public out there watching this show?
I think the only additional bit of advice is for returning travellers, for men returning, and indeed their partners, that barrier contraception is being advised to be used for anybody who returns from the areas where we know it's circulating widely for at least 28 days. And if you've had confirmed Zika virus infection or an illness consistent with Zika virus infection, you're being advised to use barrier contraception for 6 months because of this potential risk of sexual transmission. So that's the only additional bit, but make sure you know where to get your travel advice on the national website, pregnant women to avoid travel to those areas, and the advice about barrier contraception, and that's it.
Okay, thank you indeed, Nadia. It was Nadia Inglis. She is consultant in public health with Coventry City Council. Did you know about the Zika virus? Well, you know a bit more now, or at least refresh what you got as knowledge. Never heard of it? Then now you discover this virus causing mayhem in some part of the world. Don't forget, don't ignore the priceless advice given to us by Nadia Inglis. Stay tuned. That's it for today. As for me, let's meet next week. Bye.